Many years ago, in what feels like another incarnation now, I wrote and narrated a children's film called Let's Go to the Farm. Hi, my name is Mac. Welcome to Elgin Spring Farm. It was an introduction to life on a Vermont dairy farm. So, with my tongue pretty firmly in cheek here, I'm calling this post, Let's Go to Prison. As I've said, I'm not working from any script here. I'm just sort of opening the door and seeing what comes out. So here goes. Before I went to jail, I didn't know anything about the Bureau of Prisons, as I think many Americans don't. But there is an agency in our government called the Federal Bureau of Prisons. And it puts out policy statements. It runs all the federal prisons in the United States. And it puts out policy statements talking about the importance of rehabilitating and preparing inmates for reentry into a positive reentry into the community. And I can tell you, after spending 4 years inside, that those policy statements bear almost no resemblance to what actually happens on the inside. I was once told early on in my prison time, directly, straight up by a guard, Parker, my job is to make sure you don't escape and to make sure you don't die. Beyond that, I don't give an F what happens to you. Okay, good. I guess we're clear on where we stand here. This attitude is everywhere in prison life. I'll try to just give you a few examples from my experience. One of the few places an average inmate has to speak to the warden or the associate wardens or case managers or unit managers or any of these people is on main line in the dining hall. And where once or twice a week the prison officials will come and stand in the dining hall. And what they do, they're supposedly accessible then to the inmates, and that's really often the only chance you get to talk to them about consequential things like transfers to a prison closer to your home or an application for compassionate release or many, many other matters. And what the prison officials do is they stand around and they talk to each other. And oftentimes, if an inmate approaches them, the inmate is sort of treated like someone who interrupted them at a cocktail party. There was one warden Brecken, who was especially famous for this, who would stand around and kind of hold court with staff about his accomplishments, and if ever an inmate came up to him, he would sort of look down his nose at them and functionally not do anything about whatever concern they raised. So many things to say. Prison is, they call them correctional institutions. I was in a medium security prison, which was called an FCI, or Federal Correctional Institution. But really what they are is human warehouses where people who do so-called bad things are put away and basically forgotten about. And another way of looking at it, it's kind of like a hog or a cattle farm where the animals are kept in pens and taken care of by, such as it is, by people who really, really hate their jobs. And all the things that can happen all the painful and troubling things that can happen when people aren't looking happen in prison. I was once walking to the rec yard, and maybe 100 feet ahead of me was one of my friends from our unit a black guy, and I saw him pulled aside by one of the guards for no apparent reason. Maybe he didn't look the guard in the eye. Maybe the guard didn't think that he had said yes sir enough. But he pulled my friend aside, took him into a holding cell, and berated him and questioned him and went after him for probably half an hour for no reason. He never made it to the rec yard. He was sent back to his cell, and a day later they tossed his cell looking for contraband. Nothing he could do about it. One day I walked into the dining hall shortly after I arrived in federal prison, and the white lieutenant looked at me and said, "Oh, look, a white guy." And he almost winked at me, saying that, kind of letting me know that I might be treated differently than other people. The racism, the hatred is everywhere. And that's an important place to start. Okay, more soon on this. Thanks for listening again.